On it, just to check a couple of things. Are there still to be any conversations while he's away at Afghan? Is there anything still needed in that respect, or is it just a case of when he returns, he just goes straight back in as normal?
No, I've said last week, actions speak louder than words, and we moved on. He was in the squad, and it was the first substitution I made. But now he's at the AFCON, playing big games for himself, but also for the country. So I think it's fair to them, but definitely also for us, because we are going to play some very important games. That all the focus is for him over there. And there should not be any distraction of me saying anything about his time here at Liverpool. Because what I said, we've moved on after the Leeds interview. And he played against Brighton. And now he's there. So it's fair for that country and for him. And also for us to talk for us about Tottenham and other games. And for them to be fully focused on their tournament.
So how is the squad looking availability-wise for this next big game? Thinking in particular Joe Gomez, Dominic Szoboszlai, okay, with that ankle injury that he had. Is Jeremy Frimpong available once again? Cody Gakpo as well, where's he at?
Well, he had a scan that looked promising, so that means that we're not that worried anymore as we were maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago. So that means he might come back a bit earlier than expected 2 weeks ago, but that's definitely not tomorrow, and also not next week. Where Joe is not in the squad as well, the weekend, and Dominic trained yesterday parts of the training for the first time. So let's see where he is today. And how he then is tomorrow. And Jeremy is in the squad again as well.
Obviously, you do have Conor Bradley back after
Yeah.
What are you expecting from Spurs? Because it was 20 goals across the 4 games last season, including the 6-3 down there. And I make it in the last 12 meetings between the two, you're averaging the goals in each game. You're averaging around about 4.5 goals per game.
Yeah. But it took us 92 minutes, I think, to score away against Brentford, a Thomas Frank team last season. So you cannot compare. You can compare certain things because mainly the same players. They've added a few players to the team, and with Thomas Frank a new manager. So I don't think you can compare our games of last season with this season. Even more so because we not only added, we lost a lot of players as well, so you cannot compare this team of us to last season, and even with the same manager, because I'm the same manager, and you cannot compare our results last season with facing a Thomas Frank team.
Do you feel like you're building momentum in the season?
I felt that earlier, and I felt that many times. What I mainly feel is that I can see, and that is always. I hope this we will all see this in the results as well. But I see that we are progressing. I just had an interview, and I said over there as well. Too many times this season, I had to play players that were fit when it comes to having no injury, but were they completely ready for 90 minutes of Premier League intensity? No, you can ask yourself the question if that was completely true. So, and I answer that question with what I say. So I don't think too many times that wasn't the situation for the amount of games we played. I'm not talking only about the new players that had to adapt to the Premier League. We missed out on a lot of players that had injuries either in pre-season or during the season. And I see now players progressing in terms of their fitness. And as a result of that, in their performances, and so I think we are definitely making progress. First of all, because players are fitter, more ready for what the request is that demands, what the demands are, and that's a good base to start from. And now we have to, and I've seen so many moments in games where we played so well. But not enough times, 90 minutes.
Thank you. So in terms of that progression as well, without getting too carried away, I know you're not on the league table just yet, but if you do win this game, you could go top 4 with it. Just in terms of that alone, what could that do to the spirit and the feeling around everywhere?
I think winning always gives a good feeling and a good spirit for a team that had so many changes during the summer. The league table, the first 12, 13, 14, 15 teams are so close to each other that winning or losing matters a lot, with one exception. Although a City is coming closer and closer to Arsenal now, but Arsenal's quite far away from us. I think the main thing for us is to build on where we are building on in the last 5 games. I think we are, maybe with the exception of Brighton, by the way, because we did concede quite a lot of chances against them. But the other games we were solid, decent. Is decent a good word? But solid defensively, and that's a good base. Combined with that, players are getting more and more ready to compete at Premier League intensity as a group. So I think we can expect more from us in the upcoming part of the season than what we've shown before. But I assume that everybody would expect that as well.
And just to add to what you were saying about the group and getting together, taking away international breaks, this was the first full week that you'd had, full midweek without a game since back in August. So what have you been able to do, and how helpful has that been for you?
I think it's always helpful for a manager to work on a training pitch with the players, especially if you bring in players, not all of them, but a few of them a little bit later in the window. With Alex, for example, he's the best example of that in the 1st of September. And I think it's also, but you can also influence your players if you play a game and you do your video meetings. So it's not an excuse for our results, not at all. But I would prefer to have more of these weeks than we have, because it's a way of implementing either new things or pointing out more and more, or stressing on things we have to do better than we did them before. So yeah, I liked it, and next week is the same. So that is almost a mini. Is that the right word you use here? A pre-season, yeah, for us.
Thank you. 10 goals for Hugo Ekitike so far, and there's been quite a variety in the type of finishes that he's applied. I just wonder if he's surpassed your expectations so far.
No, he didn't, because we knew what type of player we signed. I think I said it straight after the game, and this is something I just said as well. He had to go off, I think, in the Brighton game after 70 minutes because he had cramp. But he did double the amount of work, a little bit exaggerated, but almost double the amount of work that he did 3 months ago, where I also had to take him off with cramp. So, but his ability to score, his technique, his speed, all these things, that's just what he has. So no one is surprised to see that. But he improved a lot in terms of how much he runs during a game, how hard he works. And that's a big help for the team as well, because people are focused only on goals, but he helps us out now defensively as well. And that is also very important for a number 9. In the talks I had with him, I probably spoke more about what I expect from him defensively than offensively, because offensively he can.
What do you think of that?
Before we signed him, he had no problem with that. After we signed him, he sometimes felt like, can we also talk a bit about offense? Or but there's not so much to talk about offense with him, because that part of his game is very good. And defensively, I'm more and more excited to see what he's doing as well.
And just a quick one on Konate. You said a few games ago that he was a bit too much at the scene of the crime for you this season. I just wonder if you think in recent games he's started to find his form again.
Yeah, and I added to that for centre-backs, that's not an uncommon thing to be on the crime scene if you concede goals. But he's been unlucky a few times, where he played good games, in my opinion. But then, a moment decides a game. Unfortunately, we play... I don't think it's unfortunate, but we play a low scoring game, football. That's the nice thing about football. That's why teams that are maybe not as good as other teams can still win the game. In basketball, the best team always wins, I think, because you have so many goals you can score. But in a low-scoring sport, that's more difficult. And then when you're involved in a moment like Ibu, it has an immediate impact on the result. And then, of course, people are not as positive about that as they maybe should have been if you look at his performances. But recently, he's not been on the crime scene. And that is the way we prefer to see him. We prefer to see all of our players. But that's not only about him. I think he's helped out more recently than before. So I think we're less vulnerable in certain situations than we were in other parts of the season. And that has immediate impact on centre backs. And Ibu is a centre back, especially. No, let's keep it like this.
Thank you.
I guess John, to start the past 3 games, what have you made his impact? And it was his 200 appearance last Saturday. What's he really needs to do now to go to that next level of becoming a record starter week in, week out?
If you would have had a bit more hair, I thought you were Curtis, because of the dialect the two of you have. Always when you ask a question, I have to listen very carefully. He's done really good in the last 3 games, and I think that's not the first time. But maybe since I'm here, it's the first time that it's 3 times in a row that he brings in very, very, very good performances. And he's had in the past also very good performances. And a game later, I maybe didn't like the performance as much as I did now recently in his last 3 games. So I think it's again a challenge for him to go to the 4th, to go to the 5th, to go to the 6th game. But I think I'm not the only one who liked the way he played, with so much confidence, with so much work rate, giving it all in every single moment for the team. And really, really, really comfortable on the ball as well. So his last 3 performances are the base where we expect him to go on. But that starts tomorrow against a challenging opponent like Spurs.
Hi, Arne. If you think Dom could play against Spurs, would you start him or be more cautious and see how the game goes?
That completely depends how he does today. So if he can fulfill the whole training session, and then you speak to the player and to the medical staff, if the player feels comfortable to play, and he did all the things he had to do, then he will start. If he can't fulfill the whole session, or he doesn't feel comfortable, he fulfills it, but he doesn't feel comfortable himself, we will have a discussion. But Dom has been a starter for me in the 1.5 years I'm here now, and for the performances he's brought in, he would be a starter tomorrow if he's completely fit.
No. Hi, Arne. You mentioned the Brighton game and the chances that they were able to create. I think they had more chances and better chances than Leeds, who scored 3 goals and didn't score any. I'm just wondering what you put that down to. You mentioned that the overall fitness of the group has improved. Do you think maybe there's an element that other teams have started to have a look at some of the recent changes you've made and maybe start to find some of the potential weak points in it?
That is a question only the future can answer. The last part of your question, the first part of your question is, I think we've conceded against Brighton more chances than the 4 games combined. So that also tells you how well we did in the 4 games before that. I think not many teams have kept Inter Milan in their own stadium away from any danger at all. Maybe one chance, one header from Martinez. So yeah, they arrived a lot of times second half in our 18-yard box, created very good moments, but we have to understand and know that we created a lot against them as well. So again, it was the balance where the games before we didn't create that much. Now we've created more but conceded more as well in the second half mainly. So first half, very good performance from us on the ball. Don't think we gave away a lot in the first half, but the second half, the game was more open on both ends. There were a lot of nice situations in both boxes. So, but that is also due to the fact that Brighton has a I've said this before, always a very good game plan, very good idea of how they want to play, but also very good players and very good players coming off the bench. So I don't know if you liked Mitoma seeing that he came in. In every other games I would like it, but if he plays against us, I prefer to see him sitting on the bench because he's one of the very good players they have.
Do you feel like you're getting closer to that balance between being able to be effective in attack and without giving away a lot of other chances there? I mean, you mentioned the fact that previous games there was less attack and less defence, and this game was a bit more. But do you feel like you're getting closer to that balance of being able to be good in one and good in the other?
Yeah, I think we are getting closer and closer to the team I want us to be. And that has gone with ups and downs. Let's be completely clear about that. But for me, that makes complete sense because all the changes we've made during the summer, and we made them on purpose because we thought we needed to. And if I'm completely honest, maybe I didn't expect it to take maybe as long as it did. But looking back on it, reflecting on it now, I think I've been too positive because if you go with a new group where not all of them are completely ready to play every single game 90 minutes in this intensity, you have to adapt. Sometimes he can play, then he cannot play. So it takes maybe a bit of time. And we've been very unlucky. Unlucky with referee decisions. I said this multiple times. Even Saturday when I said afterwards that the referee was completely neutral, I missed out on a red card. Another influential decision, but this time it didn't hurt us, and we have to go to that situation. If a referee decision is against, it doesn't matter. We are still good enough to win. If we concede a set piece, no problem. We're still able to win. So set piece is another thing. I think from almost all the losses that we've had, except for one maybe, in all the other ones we've conceded a set piece, and we shouldn't be. That shouldn't influence our result anymore, and that's why we have to improve. That we're not depend as much on luck or bad luck, because we are in that mix too many times from the start of the season, because we were a few times lucky maybe in the start when we scored late goal winners. We deserve those wins, but still were small margins, and we have to make sure that this team gets to a level that either referee decisions or set pieces doesn't influence our results as many as they've done in recent weeks or months.
Thank you.
You're welcome.